Hello, this is how to install OpenIndiana Hipster 2025-1026 in a QEMU virtual machine. So the operating system OpenIndiana is a continuation of the operating system OpenSolaris, uses the kernel named IllumOS, the kernel and base operating system. The wiki page says that the latest release is 2024-04, which is wrong. The OpenIndiana homepage says that the latest release is 2024-04, which is wrong. The downloads page says that the latest release is 2025-06, which is wrong. So I took a URL from here and navigated a number of directories up, and then I got to the correct directory, 2025-1026. From here, we're going to download the biggest file that's an ISO file. So the first file in this list, OpenIndiana Hipster GUI 2025-1026.iso. The host operating system is a fresh installation of Kubuntu 25.10. I have just installed Virt Manager, the software virtualization. Let's open the application, Virtual Machine Manager. It probably requires a computer restart, so I'll restart the host operating system. I have restarted the computer, and now Virtual Machine Manager, the application, has started correctly. It could connect to the virtualization software QEMU VM. Let's create the OpenIndiana virtual machine. File, new virtual machine, ISO, forward, browse, OpenIndiana Hipster GUI. Choose volume, could not detect. Let's try something new. We need to fix permissions. Yes. So I'm going to use half of my CPU threads, that's 8 vCPUs and 10 gigabytes of random access memory out of 32 gigabytes. (200 gigabytes out of 2 terabytes. This is going to be OpenIndiana. And we're going to customize as network selection. We're going to use the default, which is network address translation, which means that the virtual machine can connect to the internet. The virtual network default is not active. Let's start it. So again, this was a fresh installation of the host operating system, Ubuntu 25.10, which means that we needed to install Virt Manager that installed all of the libvirt daemons, QEMU, enabled KVM, required a computer reboot. Then I needed to add a new volume in the virtualization software, Virt Manager. Then permissions were needed on the directory of the volume. Okay, so let's see the settings. We're probably safer with BIOS than with UEFI, the newest motherboard. I'm not sure if this makes a difference, but I want just one CPU hardware, just one socket. I'm not sure it supports VirtIO. So let's go with SATA for the virtual hard disk. Probably supports SATA CD-ROM DVD-ROM drive. Network interface card, let's also go with E1000. Hopefully it does support tablet USB. Let's try our luck, begin installation. Okay, and we managed to see the bootloader, which is probably from the GNU project. Okay, so it says that we need to select a language, and 7 is the default, which is English. Correct. A ton of errors related to audio. And it boots in live CD mode from the CD-ROM drive from the ISO file, which is good news. This is the desktop operating system, probably Mate. Let's check this out. I'm not sure if the terminal works. I cannot prove that it does. Let's try to install the operating system. So on the desktop, there's this icon, install OpenIndiana. This is probably the graphical user interface installer wizard. I'm not sure what installer technology this is. OpenIndiana installer. The scroll wheel on my mouse doesn't seem to work. It's a USB mouse. Next. 200 gigabytes virtual hard disk. Partition the disk. Partition type Solaris. 200 gigabytes. Seems okay. So I'm just keeping the defaults. New York. Next, English. Root password and account. Login name and the real name. Login name cannot be greater than 8 characters. So there's this limitation. The operating system only supports local users with names that are less than 9 characters. So we shorten administrator to just admin. Eight characters maximum size for a local username is a mega strange limitation in the year 2025. Computer name the same as the virtual machine OpenIndiana. This should be it. Hopefully the values are okay. And install. Okay, so this is a the installer progress with images from a slideshow of the operating system features. The virtual machine has a wrong resolution. It's probably X11, and when you try to exit with the mouse at the top or at the bottom, it's going to scroll to let you see the pixels that you cannot see otherwise. This is a bug, an important one. Making sure that your operating system runs on AMD 64 if your operating system wants to do that and is a desktop operating system, and then making sure that it runs correctly in Virt Manager, QEMU on Linux should be a top priority for your operating system, even if it's a, I don't know, none of your developers are full-time paid employees. Because it's way harder to support real hardware and it's way easier to support the 4 virtualization softwares that people use. And in Linux, most people will use Virt Manager. On Windows, they will probably use VirtualBox and Hyper-V. So on macOS, the selection is also very, very limited. Like people use 3 virtualization softwares. So making sure that your operating system works correctly in the most common virtualization software available and used by people, it's very, very important. It's the top, I know, 6 hardware platforms that you must support. And that means not having to scroll the desktop, making sure copy paste of text works, and if possible also making sure that if you resize the virtualization software window, it's going to resize to change the resolution of your operating system's desktop inside the virtual machine. Okay, so the installer wizard in graphical user interface mode has finished correctly. We're at the final page. We can reboot the system. As you see on the desktop, there's an icon for the text user interface installer. Install OpenIndiana using text installer. Let's go for reboot. A graphical user interface installer wizard for your operating system should provide as the final step the reboot button. Don't let the user exit the installer wizard back to the live CD environment, desktop environment, and make the user reboot from there. Okay, let's see what's happening. So the CD-ROM ISO should not be inside the drive. It's not. Was removed from there automatically by the virtualization software. So this SMF, Service Management Facility, reading, I know, XML files, document the description of the services. The operating system supports 64-bit AMD 64, that's great. It's booting straight into graphical user interface mode. The desktop still needs to be scrolled around up and down. Let's enter the desktop. So this is the desktop manager. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe GDM or a fork of it. We'll find out soon enough if the terminal works okay. Yeah, I'm not sure how to make the terminal work. Test. Reset and clear. Maybe there's a wrong colors theme. Profiles. Edit. Colors. Solarized. That doesn't work for me. Let's try to install another terminal because I cannot survive in a graphical user interface environment without a terminal. Let's see how we do that. We need an app store. Xterm, we have Xterm available. And probably also this GTK4 thing, VT. Okay. So fortunately 4 terminal emulators were installed out of the box. 2 demos for GTK3 and 4 VTE, Xterm, and the default terminal emulator, which is the Mate Desktops terminal. Okay, let's see if PS3 exists. Doesn't exist. So as expected, Xorg, because we have this scrolling behavior happening. A ton of processes from /usr/lib. I'm not sure why things are truncated here. HAL, the hardware abstraction layer, a thing that existed in the year 2005 on Linux. Mate panel. Light DM, so the desktop manager is not GDM but Light DM. Desktop environment is Mate desktop, Mate session, Mate panel. Mate power manager, Mate screensaver, volume control, Kaha, the file manager, Pulse audio, a ton of GNOME things, tracker GVFS, gconfd. The terminal runs the shell bash by default from what I see. Less is available, not only more. Yeah, very familiar operating system to people that have used Linux in the last 20 years. Let's try to fix the up-down scrolling thing. So for that we need the system settings, system preferences, control center. Wow, what the times of when SUSE bought Novell or vice versa, and they bought Simian desktop. Look and feel. Hardware displays. Resolution. Probably this one we're after, the 720p. And bingo. Keep this configuration. Unfortunately, we cannot set the resolution to something larger like 1080p. The apply button is still enabled even though we did apply once. Apply system-wide. What is that? Slash export slash what? I'm not sure what I'm doing here, so let's just not do that. I really want the following functionalities to work correctly. The virtual machine should be fast. Painting of everything that is UI, menus, etc. should happen fast, which I already have. Then I want to be able to set any resolution to the desktop environment, to Mate, which I cannot have yet. I'm going to use the VNC server to overcome this, hopefully. And then I want to be able to copy paste text from the host machine, for instance, from this web browser to inside the virtual machine. I have some notes on this. Hopefully they still work 1 year later. So this is my wiki page and mariusp.github.io. How to install other operating systems. Search for the operating system name, OpenIndiana. So I'm using the live DVD. I did install it. I am using the whole virtual disk. The username is admin. And it says that I can connect via SSH. So let's prove that that's the case. Let's find out the IPv4 address. So it's ending in 158. Let's copy the IPv4 address. Terminal. And let's log out of the desktop if I know how to do that. Log out admin. Log out. Okay. SSH username admin at IPv4 address. So the SSH server does run, is installed by default, is running by default, is listening on port 22 by default, which is great. And we could connect. I'm not sure if you can connect as the user root. The defaults of the OpenSSH SSH server prohibit you connecting as the user root remotely with a password. But good thing that we have an important user, which is this admin user. Okay. Next up, let's see if Linux style using sudo works. And it does. Let's see these commands. Package update. So package is the package manager. Has Linux style, GNU style ---- help parameter. Hopefully. pkg update. Does download the metadata about packages that are available in the remote repositories and can be installed. And it also wants to update some packages. So I'm not sure if this is the equivalent of the command lines apt install and apt update, apt update and apt upgrade, or just apt update. No updates available. Okay, so it actually has upgraded all of the packages that are installed on this system, which is good. Let's see what's the command line for searching. Is there a search? Yes, I can see search here. So pkg search, tiger, nothing, vnc, there's the package x11 vnc that we're going to install, and there's also xvfb. So package install this guy, x11 vnc. I couldn't see what it wanted to install. I'm not sure if it installed xvfb as a dependency or not. I saw for a millisecond some library name, so probably not. Let's actually install this package also. Because we're connected via SSH, copy paste actually works. Okay, and if there is one package to install, it says that it's installing one package. If the package was already installed as a dependency of x11 VNC, then it will say packages to install 0, like this. No updates necessary for this image. Oh. So we're still the user root, says that we should become the user admin again, Control D probably, or exit. Yes. Linux style who am I? Linux style pwd, free, df, rpool. So this smells like ZFS. Yeah, totally alien to me what I'm seeing here. So I'm not sure how to interpret this thing. Control L does work to clear the screen. So as the user non-root, as the user admin, we should start the VNC server, which is called x11 VNC. What did it do? You are running x11 VNC without a password, so complaints about missing password. And we'll need to store this password. So the command line is x11 VNC minus store password. The last one we'll use ~vnc/passwd. And then when we start the VNC server, after we have created the password, we need to use a command line like this, x11 VNC minus RFB auth. RFB is the protocol behind VNC, RFB VNC. And path to the password file, which is this thing, ~.vnc/password, this guy. So let's do that. Enter VNC password. I'm not sure if it should be over 6 characters long. Write password to tilde/vnc.vnc/passwd. Yes. And we want to run the default desktop when we start the VNC server, which is probably the only X11 session that's installed on the system right now. This probably is the magic thing. So we need to create in the home directory of the current user a file, hidden file named tilde/.xinitrc. In there, we're going to say exec mate minus session, so it starts the X11 session for the mate desktop. And then we want to specify the initial resolution using fd_geom. We need to specify the session mate in fd_ses, the command line that we were suggested one screen above. And then we also need to specify the non-default display, so not :0 but :1, and -xkb and -create. Let's see what happens if we don't. Maybe some issues were fixed from 1 year ago. Okay, what does it say? That it failed to open display :1, which is probably used by the desktop manager like the DM. So we'll need to specify another display :1. Okay, so we're at this. Control L, paste. Okay, and this time it says that could not open display 1. An X server must be running before X11 VNC is started. X11 VNC does not start the server. Or not. I totally don't know what I'm doing here. So I'll just go with what worked 1 year ago. Okay, so let's see what it says. Didn't complain. The server seems to be running in the foreground, so it's probably easy to stop it or to detach it or something. It's probably using the desktop X11 desktop :1. It's using the VNC desktop :0, which means the default TCP port 5900, IPv4. So we can try to connect to the virtual machine. For this we need VNC viewer, which we don't have installed by default. Let's do it the hard way, the correct way. apt install. So this is Kubuntu 25.10. In order to find out where the executable VNC viewer is, in which package it is, we can use apt file. Apt file update. Apt file search and then the name of the file. And we need it to be /VNC. How do we search for slash? So it should be in /usr/bin/VNC viewer. It's probably there using alternatives mechanism. So I'm going to guess that it comes from the package from this guy, from Tiger VNC viewer. Let's see if there's a meta package Tiger VNC. Nope. So Tiger VNC minus viewer it is. This package. Continue. And indeed, it's using alternatives to create the executable /usr/bin/vnc viewer, which is probably a symlink that ends up to /usr/bin/x tiger VNC viewer in order to allow for other VNC clients than the one provided by Tiger VNC, such as, I know, tight VNC or real VNC, etc. Okay, at this moment we should have VNC viewer. We need the IPv4 address of the virtual machine. Okay. Keep password for reconnect. Cool. And it did what we wanted in the sense that it started with initial resolution 1080p. It's using Mate Desktop X11 session. Let's see if copy paste of text works. It's the first time that the Firefox web browser starts, and seems to be a fairly recent version of the web browser. Okay, so copy paste of text from the virtual machine towards the host machine, from the VNC server towards the VNC client worked correctly. Let's see the other way around. Applications, a text editor, Pluma. And paste doesn't work. Or the button is disabled. Okay, the button is disabled, but copy paste works if you Control V. So right click, context menu, paste is disabled. Main menu, edit, paste is disabled, but Control V works correctly. Okay. Unfortunately, just resizing the Tiger VNC client window doesn't seem to tell the Mate desktop to resize, but that can always be fixed by computing ahead of time the initial resolution that we want and providing that initial resolution when we start the X11 server that runs as part of the VNC server. There's a context menu in Tiger VNC, which is F8. Let's see what that knows how to do. About, connection info, 1080p resolution, options, full screen on current monitor. Okay, so these are mostly VNC client session settings, not VNC server settings. Resize window to session. So yeah, it can do the other way around, right? Nope. It can if the application Tiger VNC is not docked to a quarter of the screen like this. Okay, so let's compute let's see if we close the Tiger VNC client window and we just restart. It keeps the same session. Nope, it closed the server. So the client VNC, Tiger VNC client window does indeed send via the VNC protocol request to the VNC server to change the resolution to the resolution of the interior of the Tiger VNC client window. So we can see how we try to use a quarter of screen or almost the entire screen, but this feature is not implemented. It says resize prohibited. So closing the VNC client did close the VNC server, which is not great. This gives us the possibility of computing the resolution. So we want the OpenIndiana Mate desktop to cover the left half of my screen. So that's 1080p divided by 2 for width. What was that? So this is 96. And 1080p, that's, I know, 980 divided by 2, just 980, like this. I'm improvising some numbers, but I'll get there in a number of tries. Okay, so the fact that it didn't fail to start means that indeed the VNC server has stopped, the X server has stopped, the Mate session has stopped, everything. Which is great. Sometimes when you use VNC servers, you end up in a situation where you have 3 different VNC servers running with different X11 sessions, etc. So it's good to know how to actually clean up and close all of the VNC server processes and their children. Okay, I'm not sure why the checkbox keep password for reconnect doesn't seem to work. And it didn't work. What was wrong? So FDGOM seems to have been not considered. It went straight to 1080p. That's strange. Then where does the resolution come from? So with the VNC, when I started the VNC server, it automatically changed the resolution to 1080p, which I'm not sure where it took that number from. So I guess that the X11 session is still running, but the VNC server just stopped. And in order to prove that, I'm looking at the list of processes, and I can see Firefox there, which is certainly not from here, because we have logged out from the virtualization software's console, graphical user interface console. We're at the desktop manager, LightDM. But then I see all sorts of processes that run inside the Mate desktop session, such as this Firefox, and then what else? Kaha. Let's restart the VNC server and reconnect and see if Firefox is already running. And the desktop is even locked. And indeed, in here, the full Mate session was not lost, even though the VNC server did stop. So maybe this is how it remembers the previous X11 resolution of the desktop, so to 1080p. Let's see if we can disconnect from here. System logout. Okay. Let's now look at the list of running processes. So no more Firefox, no more Kaha, no more other processes related to the Mate desktop. And now if we start the VNC server with this strange resolution, it indeed starts with that resolution. Okay, so what we found out is that the initial resolution that we provide in the command line, it's a hint. So it's a starting X and Y pixels resolution. Is going to be applied the very first time that you start the Mate desktop, the X11 session, because after that, via the RFB VNC protocol, you are not allowed to change the resolution. So the first resolution is the one that's going to be kept around. The VNC server, VNC client will tell the VNC server to resize whenever you resize the VNC client window. And we can see that changes are being ignored. In here says RFB encoding desktop size 960 by 80 resize prohibited. Whatever, towards from 960 by 980 towards 1113 by 980 was prohibited. So it will keep the initial resolution. If you really want to change the resolution, then you will have to actually log out of the X11 session. So from the main menu, inside Mate Desktop, System, and then Logout Admin. And indeed, from what I see in here, the height should be a bit taller. So let's fix that. So that's 1080p. The first is the width because it's longer, and then this is the height. So we want the height to be taller by maybe 20 pixels. Let's make it 99. Like this. Connect. It would be great if this checkbox actually did what it said. It's a virtual machine. I don't really care about security. I just want the features. So let's see if I have the features that I'm after. So really fast virtual machine, because I'm using the best virtualization technology possible in Linux, which is QEMU VM Virt Manager. Because I'm using really fast hardware, NVMe, a ton of random access memory 10 gigabytes, a ton of storage 200 gigabytes NVMe. So everything is as snappy as possible. Then I can resize easily the resolution of the virtual machine by logging out of the desktop and then specifying another resolution at the command line in here. And then copy paste of text does work between the virtual machine and the virtualizations and the host machine. If copy paste of text works, then I don't really need to use a web browser inside the virtual machine. I can use the web browser that I'm always using, where I have everything saved, bookmarks, accounts, etc. My browsing history. Okay, so with this, we're in a very advanced state. OpenIndiana, the current release 2025.10 works correctly on my hardware, which is again Virt Manager QEMU KVM on Linux. All of the hardware inside this virtual machine works correctly. Everything's snappy. I have a desktop environment that resembles what I would normally use. I have copy paste of text working. I have resizing of the desktop working. Next up, I can do the things that I normally do, which is probably install more software, probably compile software, probably start developing, because I'm a developer. Okay, let's fix this issue. The terminal just doesn't work. Let's see if we can remove. Yes. Let's see if we can put a terminal that actually works. Let's try with this guy. Let's see if we can pin this thing. Minimize, maximize, move. I'm not sure how to pin this thing. Add to panel. Maybe drag and drop. This guy and go there. No, I don't want to send email. Yeah, it doesn't look great. It actually looks bad, but it works. Okay, let's see the list of available packages. I have searched IPS command line list repositories. Probably also need to prepend the name of the operating system. So you go Solaris. Even though this is OpenIndiana, you probably are going to get more Google search results if you use Solaris as the operating system name. They're in the same family of Linux operating systems. So Solaris, IllumiOS, OpenIndiana, SmartOS, etc. All of the others. Okay, I got to this page. So introducing the basics of IPS image packaging system. The steps that I normally use are to make sure that PKG works. It does. PKG update has fetched the latest list of available packages in the remote repositories, has updated all of the local packages. PKG search knows how to search for packages that can be installed. PKG installs packages. Next up, I want to see which package repositories are available. So the command line is this one, PKG publisher. Why? Because it's going to say an HTTPS URL for a web page for the IPS remote repository. How do I copy text from here? And those URLs usually work in web browsers. So https://pkg.openindiana.org/hipster takes me to the inside the web browser to the web view of the repository. In here we need to select the release and branch. So there's just one option. I'm not sure what this option means, 2022.0.0.1. Okay, but this allows you to see the list of packages. There's 10,000 binary packages. Some of these packages are alien to people that have always used just Linux, such as these things, Sun WCS, or the ones which are driver slash. But then the vast majority of the binary packages that are available actually are just plain open source software that work correctly on Linux and on other POSIX Unix style operating systems and have been ported to the current operating system, which is OpenIndiana. So let's see what's available. Do we have Emacs? Yes, we do. It's called GNU-Emacs. Do we have Nano? Yes, Nano. Pluma installed by default, the text editor from the desktop environment. Mate desktop, there's Vim. So text user interface editors look okay. Let's see what else is available. We want Qt, the framework. There's the integrated development environment Qt Creator, extremely intriguing. PKG install Qt Creator. We'll probably install more than 10 binary packages as dependencies of Qt Creator. Wow. Just 2. Okay. Let's see the rest of Qt. Somewhere in library, I'm going to guess. Okay, so what I am after is just one binary package which is called Qt6, and the version is 6.6.3. So current version is 6.10, maybe 6.9, and they have 6.6. And the date here says 2024-07. So July last year. But this is something. Let's see how we can start Qt Creator. Development. And it's not in here. Where is it? Maybe it just doesn't appear automatically in the start menu. That would be intriguing. Let's create a new tab. Ctrl-Shift-T, Ctrl-T. Nope. New terminal. No tabs here. Well, the fact that it doesn't have tabs is not that great. Let's try to start Qt Creator. The following plugins have errors and cannot be loaded. Okay, so this looks like a packaging error. Let's see what's probably the error. Light HTML, QLite HTML. So it says that the library Qt6 is not great for Qt Creator. Maybe the Qt Creator version is a bit newer than the Qt6 version, because this symbol is missing. QLite HTML widget context menu requested. Would you like to take a quick tour? Yes. Great, let's create a project. Qt application, Qt widgets application, good. My home directory. Let's try something else. Create a directory. It's using the wrong file open dialog or not. So it's using the GTK file open dialog, which is correct. It should actually open the file open dialogs that are specific for the desktop environment. So, okay. CMake. Yes. No languages. No kits. Wow. How do we fix that? pkg install Qt. Backslash keyboard key doesn't work. Control right does work. Which is bad. Yes, we want Qt 6 because there's also Qt 5. Should say that it's already installed because otherwise Qt Creator cannot be running. but no. So Qt Creator somehow is running without Qt 6 being installed. Maybe it's a Qt 5 application. There is no about. About Qt Creator like this, yes. Okay, so it's using Qt 5. That's why Qt 6 wasn't pre-installed, hopefully. We'll test this theory real quick. Okay, so because there's just one binary packages out of the whole Qt 6 framework, that means Qt base, Qt GUI, Qt everything, 10 modules, even more, then this binary package will be large. Let's see what this manifest button does. Source URL. Qt declarative QML. Okay, so we did finish installing. Let's see if Qt no backspace key 5 was already installed. Okay, so Qt 5 was pre-installed by Qt Creator as a dependency. So let's try again what we wanted. Create project, Qt widgets, choose, browse. It didn't remember what I selected the last time, which is wrong. See make, next. No kits. Well, I don't know what to do here. I'm going to say that the Qt SO files are definitely installed, but I'm not sure if the development packages, the CMake files, etc. for Qt are available, or if I have the rest of the C++ development tools, like a C++ compiler, etc. Let's see what C++ compilers do we have. So GCC. So GCC is the GNU compiler collection. Probably contains at least C++, C, and maybe others. Plenty of versions to choose from. GCC 3, 7, 10, 13, 14 are available. Many other programming languages. Go, Groovy, which is something from the Java side. Java OpenJDK 8. Okay, let's see if there's Python. Python modules. Probably Python versions 3.9 and 3.14 are available from what I see here. Yeah, this is why it's easy to have 10,000 binary packages, because you're packaging 1,000 Python modules twice. First for version Python 3.9 and then for Python version 3.14. Or maybe more. And then you do the same for modules for other programming languages such as Perl. Yeah, for Python, it's okay because it's probably going to be used by the tools that are used to build your operating system. Maybe the graphical user interface installer wizard is using that. Maybe the package manager is using that. Maybe the version control. Okay, this is not going anywhere. Okay, let's see if we have Rust. Developer Rust cbindgen. So something seems to be available. Perl 5 modules. Ruby modules. Okay. Do we have Clang? Yes. 4 versions to choose from: 16, 18, 19, 20. So it's a batteries included operating system, does have a desktop, does have a ton of tool chains for different programming languages, which then allows you to continue, which is installing software from source, open source software that works correctly on Linux. Maybe you're lucky and it just works correctly on this version of OpenIndiana. Maybe it requires a very small number of very small changes, like tweaking some if-defs to make the source release tarball of that package compile and run correctly on this operating system. This is what you would exactly want from an operating system. Make the desktop work correctly, make the minimum desktop environment experience work correctly. If you don't really require much, if you only need a web browser and being able to connect to wireless and wired networks, or maybe just wired networks, you can see in here where is it? The experience for connecting to networks. I'm not sure where it is. Administration network. NWAM manager. What is that? Network manager. Password for the user root has immediately expired. New password. It's interactively forcing me to create a new password for the user root. Oh, that's mega strange. 2 alphabetic characters. Wow, too many numbers. Okay, I'll pass. It's becoming a quiz. Okay, other developer applications I found here. The meld. Graphical user interface difference viewer. And then I even see things for gaming, such as DOSBox, the DOS emulator. A PDF viewer, probably this QPDF. Wine, again for playing games if you're on AMD 64, why not? Play AMD 64 or x86 games. Sudo was pre-installed. Databases, 3 versions of PostgreSQL. Windows sharing SMB. SSH server pre-installed. Bash pre-installed and the default shell for the user that I have created during the installer, which is named admin. Fish, other shell. Corn shell. Z shell. Beehive, probably a virtualization software if you install this operating system on bare hardware, not inside the virtual machine. And maybe an entire open office suite. Let's see. LibreOffice as a single binary package. Remote desktop protocol client. Tiger VNC. So I searched for VNC and I couldn't find Tiger VNC. Why not? PKG search VNC doesn't find this guy. What about Tiger VNC? So I'm using X11 VNC and XVFB. I'm not using the Tiger VNC server X VNC. Maybe I should. Okay, so this is my installing the recent release of OpenIndiana 2025.10. It works surprisingly well. I didn't see any crashes, any issues. The team that's packaging software for OpenIndiana is not that large. I can see that because I can see software that's not that up to date, at least in the default catalog of IPS software. I can see Qt versions that are, I don't know, 2 years old, 1 year and something. Qt Creator that's also old and uses Qt 5 instead of Qt 6, so more developer hours would be better if somebody can contribute and help out and at least get these binary packages more up to date. That would be especially great. And then in order not to provide a ton of other X11 software that's just not going to be maintained or be really old versions, you don't get much X11 software. Like you don't get a full KDE Plasma desktop. You don't get the KDE frameworks. You do get ECM, extra CMake modules. That's very important because it's a stepping stone for then porting to this operating system the rest of the KDE frameworks and then the KDE desktop, KDE applications, etc. There's a ton of GNOME not available here, but what is available is a Spike, is a minimal viable process. So it's the Mate desktop with a very small set of X11 applications, and then a ton of development libraries. Again, if you want to contribute to the OpenIndiana operating system, a good way to work is to maintain the packages that already exist, make sure they're updated and fresher, and then maybe use this good Spike, this good minimum viable process to product to add more packages that are easier to port and easier to keep ported on OpenIndiana and not get obsolete and bitrotted. So this is it. Thank you.